Hi there, in this video we are looking how to change the subject. I'm going to start with the easy, then I'm going to take you to the medium and then we're going to try some harder questions. So starting with the easy ones, we have got the first one here, which is V equals U plus AT. So from this formula, we are trying to make A the subject. To write down A as by itself, what we're going to do is we see that at the moment A is on the right hand side. We're going to make it in such a way that A would be itself on the right hand side. So the first thing we're going to do is to take away this U on both the sides. And you will be having on the left hand side now is V minus U, where the right hand side plus U and minus U will go. That would be equals to AT. Because we are trying to make A the subject, so this T is still here, which we need to eliminate from here. So because A and T are written in a product form, we're going to divide by T on both the sides. So to divide by T on both the sides, the left-hand side would be V minus U over T, and the right-hand side would just be A. Clearly, we can see from here now that we have managed to write down A as the subject. Looking to the next example, which is R minus Q over 7, R equals Q over 7 plus C. Now from here, we are trying to make Q as the subject. So we are trying to write down Q by itself, and writing it down, we are trying to make Q the subject. Now we're going to start with what we can have to shift onto the other side. So we are having this plus C. And the inverse of the plus C is to do minus C on both the sides. To do minus C on both the sides, the left-hand side would be R minus C. Then we are having Q over 7, and this plus C and minus C will go. Now we're having this Q divide 7. So the inverse of the divide is the multiply. So we're going to do now times by 7 on both the sides. So when I say times by 7, I'm going to do with the whole, both the terms here. So times by 7 here and the times by 7 on the other side as well. Doing times by 7 on both the sides because we multiply 7 with both the terms. So it would be written in a bracket form, 7 R minus C equals this top 7 and the bottom 7 would simplify, and you'll be having just Q on its own. So we do it by using the inverse operations, and here I'll be writing down the inverse operation. So the inverse of a positive is a negative. The inverse of the negative is positive. The inverse of the multiply is a divide. And the inverse of the divide is the multiply. So now we're going to have a look to another example. And the other example is when we are having T equals V minus W over 3. So that would be T equals V minus W over 3. And we are trying to write down V as a subject. Now we're going to see that how we can just make V on its own. This line means is a divide. And the inverse of the divide is times. So to get rid of this denominator 3, we're going to times by 3 on the left-hand side as well as on the right-hand side. So on the right-hand side, you would get 3t. On the left-hand side, because you times and divide by 3, they both simplifies each other and you'll be just having v minus w. Still, we have got minus w on this side. The inverse of the minus w is plus w. We're going to do the same operation on both the sides. And now we are having the left-hand side is 3t plus w equals v. If you want to look your v to be on the left-hand side, then it would be the same thing if you write it down as v equals 3t plus w. So the first three examples, what we have done was actually the easy ones. Now I'm taking you to the slight harder ones. So going on to it, we are having 4g minus w equals 5w minus 3. We are trying to make w the subject, and now why I say that this is little harder, because you see that now there is a bracket as well. So I need to do one additional step to expand the bracket, and then I'm going to rearrange in such a way that I'll be able to have the W on one side by itself. So I'm going to start by expanding the bracket. It's a single bracket. To expand the single bracket, you multiply the term, whatever is written outside with the terms written inside the bracket. So to begin with, you did 4 times G, which would be 4G. There's a negative sign. You multiply them together. That would be 4W. On the right-hand side, we are having 5W minus 3. Now, clearly we can see that we have got the W on the left-hand side, and we are having a W on the right-hand side. We need to make the W's to be written on one side only. So we always just try not to see the W with the negative sign. So here, this is a minus 4W. To just change that into the positive, we do plus 4W on both the sides. When you do that on both the sides, now minus 4W and plus 4W would cancel. Or you'll be having just 4G on the left-hand side. Here, when you add them together, because collecting like terms, 5W plus 4G would be 9W, and there's a minus 3. Now, we're going to do the inverse of minus 3, which would be plus 3 on both the sides. This will go, and on the left-hand side would be 4G plus 3 equals 9W. We can see that we are getting there, but we have got still 9 there, which is written in a product form. And the inverse of times is divide. So we're going to do divide by 9 on both the sides. When we do divide by 9 on both the sides, it would be with both the terms. So I'm going to write down 4G plus 3. This line is the division sign, and this would be 9 equals W. Now we have got the W written in by itself, which is as a subject. Now, going on to the next example. So we are having now, which is x equals 3a plus 9. So this is the next example we are having, x equals to 3a plus 9, and we are trying to write down a as the subject. To begin with the first one, again, I see that there's a bracket. The first thing I have to do is to expand out the bracket. So the left-hand side which stays the same. The right-hand side is to expand the bracket. Bracket means multiply. So 3 times a would be 3a plus 3 times 9 would be 27. Now we need to get rid of this 27 from here. So the inverse of plus 27 is minus 27 on both the sides. The left-hand side would be changes to now x minus 27, and the right-hand side would be just 3a. To get rid of this 3, the inverse, because 3 and a are written in a product form, the inverse of a multiply is a divide. So we're going to divide by 3 on both the sides. And we'll be getting x minus 27, the whole thing divided by 3 equals a. Now I'm showing you one more example on the medium type of the questions, and then we go on to the harder ones. So the next example is 4 times 3a plus b equals c plus b plus a. Here, this says express. Now we are trying to express a in terms of b and c. So we are trying to make a the subject, and when I make a the subject, it would be coming in the terms of b and c. I'm going to start with the basic thing to expand them together. To expand them, we'll be having 4 times 3 would be 12a plus 4 times b would be 4b, where the right-hand side stays the same. Now we see that we have got the a on the left-hand side, and we are having the a on the right-hand side. So here we have got a on the left-hand side, and here we are having a on the right-hand side. We're going to do the inverse, so I would have the a to be on one side. Here, the left-hand side has got a 12a, the right-hand side has got just a. So we are taking away the smaller one. So we're going to the inverse of plus a would be minus a on both the sides. So the left-hand side would turn out to be 12a minus a would be 11a. Then we are having plus 4b, and on the right-hand side, this will go and you'll be having just c plus b. Now, to having a just on the left-hand side, we'll do the inverse of plus 4b. The inverse of a plus is a minus 4b. We're going to do minus 4b on both the sides. This will go. The left-hand side is now just 11a. where C plus B and minus 4B would be minus 3B. To get A by itself only, you divide by 11 on both the sides. And you'll be getting A equals C minus 3B over 11. So here I have shown you some examples where it was the simple formula written and you're trying to make the subject, whatever the letter is given. The second one is where you have to do the additional step of expanding bracket and then you rearrange to make the subject. Now we're going to look to the harder ones, and I'll show you 3 examples on the harder one as well. So to begin with the first one now. Okay, so I'll start with the first one of the harder ones. So we're having D equals root 3h over 2. Now we are having a square root and we are trying to make h the subject. The first thing, we know that how can we get rid of the square root? So the inverse of the square root is square. To get rid of the square root, you do the square on both the sides. So we are having D equals root 3h over 2. As I said, the inverse of that is the square. So I'm going to do the square on the left-hand side and the square on the right-hand side. The square and the square root would cancel. You'll be having D square now on the left-hand side and the right-hand side is 3h over 2. Now, because we are trying to make h the subject, we have got denominator 2. So because it's the denominator 2 is a divide, the inverse of a divide is times by 2 on both the sides. So it looks like a power, but actually it's a variable. So you'll be having 2d squared equals 3h because the top and the bottom 2 would simplify. Now to eliminate 3 from there, it's written in a product form. So the inverse of the product is a divide. And you'll be having 2d squared divided by 3 equals h. And we are having now h as a subject. Looking to the next example. So now we are having y equals x plus 3 over x minus 8. We see that now we have got the right-hand side written in a fraction form and we are trying to make x a subject. So we have to do a little more working out for this one. So this is a sign of a divide and we know that the inverse of a divide is a multiply. To get rid of this whole denominator, which is written in terms of x, we're going to multiply by x minus 8 on both the sides. So x minus 8 to be multiplied with the left-hand side and x minus 8 to be multiplied with the right-hand side. So with the left-hand side, in the bracket is x minus 8 equals, this denominator would cancel and we'll be having then x plus 3. Because now we have got the brackets on the left-hand side, we're going to first expand out the brackets. To expand out the bracket, it means we're going to multiply with the term written outside the bracket with the terms inside the bracket, and you'll be getting xy minus 8y equals x plus 3. Because we are trying to make x the subject, and clearly we can see that the x we are having on the left-hand side and we are having x on the right-hand side. So this is x we are having on the left-hand side and this is on the right-hand side. We need to shift them to one side. So we're going to do the inverse operation of plus x. Because there's no sign here is a plus x, so it would be minus x on both the sides. Now we are having xy minus x minus 8y equals 3 because this plus x and minus x would simplify. Now, because we are having the x written there, I'm going to take this first of all, minus 8y on the other side. So the inverse of the minus 8y would be plus 8y on both the sides. So we will be getting xy minus x equals 3 plus 8y. Now we see that we have got the x written with both the terms, but I cannot straight do collecting like terms. We have got xy, the first term, and minus x, the second term on the left-hand side. We need to think how we can change that into the x variable as a single x variable. So we're going to factorize x from here. When we factorize x from here, we'll come out with y minus 1 equals 3 plus 8y. To make x the subject, this y minus 1, which is inside the bracket, and the bracket means multiply. The inverse of the multiplication is divide. We're going to do now. So x equals, we are having 3 plus 8y here, and then the inverse of y minus 1 is a multiply is a divide, so it would go in the denominator, would be y minus 1 in the denominator. Because we know that bracket means a product and the inverse of a product is a divide, so that's why now we have got written in the fraction form. I'm going to show you one more example where we have been given something in a fraction form and we are trying to make it as a subject. So here's my last example on this, making the subject topic. And the last example is, okay, so having the last example would be, I'm going to write down t equals a plus 3 over 3 minus 2a. Okay, I'm going to start with getting rid of the denominator first. So the inverse of this thing would be if I multiply by 3 minus 2a with the left-hand side as well as with the right-hand side. So with the left-hand side, you see that it's going to multiply with t. So t times 3 minus 2a. With the left-hand side, the top and the bottom is the same. We can simplify them together and we are having just a plus 3. Now, we see that on the left-hand side, we are having a bracket. So we always expand the bracket. Expanding the bracket would be 3t minus 2ta equals a plus 3. I forgot to tell is like we are making a the subject. To make a the subject, clearly I can see that I've got the a written on the left-hand side and a is on the right-hand side. So this is the left-hand side a, this is the right-hand side a. As I said, we don't prefer the variables to be what we are making the subject. We prefer to have them with a positive sign. So I'm getting rid of this negative one. So the inverse of this would be plus 2ta and this would be plus 2ta on both the sides. So this would simplify and you'll be getting 3t on the left-hand side by itself. On the right-hand side, we are having a plus 2ta plus 3. Now I'm going to take this plus 3 on the other side. So it would be minus 3 on both the sides. And having that minus 3 on the left-hand side would make 3t minus 3 equals a plus 2ta. Because we are trying to make a the subject, we need to factorize a from the right-hand side. A is written with the first term as well as with the second term. So 3t minus 3 would stay the same. And then to factorize a from here would be 1 plus 2t. Now, this is written with the bracket. We know that the bracket means multiply. And the inverse of the multiply is the divide. We're going to write this part down in a bracket in the denominator form then. So I can factorize even something from this part as well. If I factorize 3 from here, I would have t minus 1 written here. This whole thing would go in the denominator because the inverse of a multiply is a divide, and we'll be having 1 plus 2t equals a. So this is how we can even make the things as subject when we have been given them in a fraction form. So we have done all the examples on the making the subject. And I hope this video really helped you in understanding how to make the variable as a subject.